What would you do if the person you trusted most betrayed you at the moment you needed them the most? As I stood beside my father's casket, the weight of grief pressed down on me like a heavy shroud. The soft murmur of mourners surrounded me, their whispered condolences blending into a dull hum. I felt utterly alone, a stark contrast to the vibrant memories of my father that flooded my mind. Just then, I caught sight of Vanessa, my sister, gliding through the crowd in her designer black dress, her platinum hair perfectly styled. She approached me with that infuriating smirk plastered across her face, and I braced myself for the inevitable. "Poor you, still single at 38, she said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "I got the man, the money, the mansion." Each word was a calculated jab, a reminder of the life I had lost and the betrayal that had shattered my world. I felt my heart race, anger bubbling beneath the surface. How could she be so cruel, especially now? I forced a smile, my mind racing. "Have you met my husband?" I called over to Marcus, who stood a few feet away, his presence a comforting anchor amidst the storm of emotions. As he approached, I watched Vanessa's expression shift from smug confidence to sheer disbelief. Her hands trembled slightly, and I could see the color drain from her face as recognition dawned. "Laura, she stammered, but I cut her off, feeling a surge of empowerment. "Yes, it's Marcus Hamilton. We've been married for 2 years now." The words felt liberating, a declaration of my newfound strength. I had rebuilt my life after the devastation she had caused, and I was no longer the broken woman she had left behind. The soft piano music played in the background, but all I could hear was the pounding of my heart. I could feel the eyes of the mourners drifting toward us, sensing the tension crackling in the air. Vanessa's facade of sympathy crumbled, and I reveled in the moment. "Look at you," I said, my voice steady. "Standing here all alone while everyone else has moved on with their lives. It's almost pathetic." Her expression shifted, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of vulnerability. The tables had turned, and I felt a rush of satisfaction. I had survived her betrayal, and now I stood tall, ready to face whatever came next. As the whispers of the crowd grew louder, I realized that this was not just a funeral, it was a turning point. I was no longer defined by my past, but by the strength I had found within myself. In that moment, I knew I was ready to reclaim my story. The tension hung in the air like a thick fog, and I could feel the weight of every gaze in the room. Vanessa's face was a mixture of disbelief and anger, and for a moment, I relished the shift in power. I had spent years feeling like the lesser sister, the one left behind, but now, as I stood beside Marcus, I felt a surge of confidence. "You thought you could just waltz in here and flaunt your life, didn't you?" I challenged, my voice steady despite the chaos swirling inside me. "Laura, I didn't mean," Vanessa began, but I cut her off, my heart racing. "You didn't mean to what? To remind me of everything I lost? To gloat about your perfect life built on my heartbreak?" The words spilled out, fueled by years of pent-up frustration. I could see the shock in her eyes, and for the first time, I felt like I was finally being heard. Marcus stepped closer, his presence grounding me. I could feel his support radiating through the air, and it gave me the strength to continue. "You think you can just take everything from me and then act like I'm the one who's pathetic? I've rebuilt my life, Vanessa. I've found love and happiness again, something you clearly don't understand." Her expression shifted, and I could see the cracks in her facade. "I never meant to hurt you, Laura. I thought you'd moved on," she said, her voice trembling. There was a hint of vulnerability in her tone, and I felt a flicker of empathy. But I quickly pushed it aside. This was not the time for compassion. "Moved on?" I echoed, incredulous. "You think I could just forget the betrayal? You and Darren? You stole my fiancé, my future, and you think I'd just let that go?" The words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of our shared history. I could see the realization dawning on her, the understanding that her actions had consequences far beyond what she had anticipated. As the murmurs of the crowd grew louder, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. This confrontation was not just about the past. It was about reclaiming my narrative. "You may have the man, the money, and the mansion, but I have something you'll never have: true love and respect. Marcus sees me for who I am, not as a trophy to be won." Vanessa's eyes widened, and I could see the realization hit her like a wave. The power had shifted, And I was no longer the victim in this story. I was the author, ready to write my own future. In that moment, I knew I had taken the first step toward healing. I had confronted my past, and now I was ready to embrace the life I had fought so hard to rebuild. As I stood there, the tension between Vanessa and me palpable, memories flooded my mind, pulling me back to the time before the betrayal. I could almost hear my father's laughter, feel the warmth of family gatherings, and remember the dreams I once had. It was hard to reconcile that past with the pain that had followed. Flashbacks played like a movie in my mind, each scene vivid and haunting. I remembered the day Darren proposed, the way he had looked at me with such adoration, as if I were the center of his universe. "Will you marry me?" he had asked, his voice filled with hope. I had said yes without hesitation, my heart soaring with the promise of a future together. But that future had crumbled like a house of cards, and I was left standing in the ruins. The engagement had been a whirlwind of excitement, planning, and dreams. I had thrown myself into every detail, from the venue to the flowers, convinced that I was building a life with the man I loved. But as the wedding day approached, cracks began to appear. Darren's late nights at work became more frequent, and I found myself questioning the sincerity of his affection. Then came the moment that shattered everything. I had walked in on them, Darren and Vanessa, entwined in a way that made my stomach churn. The betrayal had cut deeper than any knife, leaving me gasping for breath as I fled the scene, my heart breaking into a million pieces. I had driven away, tears streaming down my face, feeling utterly lost. In the months that followed, I had retreated into myself, seeking solace in therapy and work. I poured my energy into rebuilding my life, determined to rise from the ashes of my shattered dreams. I learned to embrace solitude, finding strength in my independence. I discovered new passions, explored the beauty of Seattle, and slowly began to heal. Marcus entered my life during this tumultuous time, a beacon of light when I had felt so dark. He had seen me for who I truly was, not just a woman scorned, but a person with dreams and ambitions. Our connection blossomed, built on mutual respect and understanding. With him, I felt safe to be vulnerable, to share my fears and hopes without judgment. As I stood there facing Vanessa, I realized how far I had come. I was no longer the broken woman she had left behind. I had transformed into someone stronger, someone who had learned to love again. The journey had been painful, but it had also been beautiful. I had reclaimed my narrative, and I was ready to embrace the future. In that moment, I understood that the confrontation with Vanessa was not just about the past. It was a celebration of my resilience. I had faced my demons and emerged victorious, ready to write the next chapter of my life with Marcus by my side. The air between Vanessa and me crackled with unresolved tension, but as I stood there, I noticed something shift in her demeanor. The bravado that had once defined her began to wane, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, and for a moment, I felt a pang of empathy. Perhaps beneath the surface of her arrogance lay a woman grappling with her own demons. "Laura," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I didn't come here to hurt you. I thought you were happy. I thought you'd moved on." The sincerity in her tone caught me off guard. It was a stark contrast to the venomous remarks she had thrown at me just moments before. I could see the cracks in her carefully constructed facade, and I felt a strange mix of anger and compassion. "Happy," I echoed, my heart racing. "You think I could just forget what you did? You and Darren? You think I could just move on like it was nothing?" My voice trembled with the weight of my emotions, but I held my ground. I had fought too hard to reclaim my life to let her off the hook so easily. "I know I messed up," she admitted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But you don't understand what it's like for me now. Darren, he's not the man I thought he was. I thought marrying him would bring me happiness, but it's been a nightmare." Her voice cracked, and I could see the vulnerability she had hidden behind her designer clothes and polished exterior. "What do you mean?" I asked, my curiosity piqued despite the anger still simmering within me. I had never seen Vanessa like this, raw and unguarded. It was as if the weight of her choices had finally become too much to bear. "He's been living beyond our means," she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. "The mansion is mortgaged to the hilt, and the cars are leased. I thought I was marrying into a life of luxury, but it's all a facade. I'm drowning in debt, and he blames me for it. The pain in her voice was palpable, and I felt a flicker of sympathy for the sister I had once loved. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, my heart softening. You could have reached out. We could have talked. I didn't want to admit that I was struggling, she replied, her eyes downcast. I thought I could handle it, that I could keep up the image. But now I feel like I'm losing everything. Her admission hung in the air, heavy with the weight of truth. As I listened to her, I realized that beneath the surface of our rivalry lay a shared experience of pain and betrayal. We had both been hurt, albeit in different ways. I had lost my fiancé, and she had lost the illusion of a perfect life. Darren's not the man you think he is, I said gently, my voice steady. He chose you, but it was built on a lie. You deserve better than that. Vanessa looked up, her eyes searching mine for understanding. I thought I could make it work, she said, her voice trembling. But every day feels like a battle. I don't know how to fix this. In that moment, I saw the sister I had once known, the girl who had shared my childhood dreams and fears. The woman standing before me was not just a rival. She was a person grappling with her own mistakes and insecurities. Maybe it's not too late, I offered, my heart softening further. You can still find a way to reclaim your life. It won't be easy, but you don't have to do it alone. Her expression shifted, a flicker of hope igniting in her eyes. Do you really think so? I do, I replied, feeling a sense of resolve. But it starts with being honest with yourself and with those around you. You have to confront the truth, no matter how painful it is. As we stood there, the tension between us began to dissipate, replaced by a fragile understanding. We were both women who had faced betrayal, and perhaps, just perhaps, we could find a way to heal together. At that moment, I realized that this confrontation was not just about the past. It was a chance for both of us to redefine our futures. I had fought hard to reclaim my narrative, and now I was ready to extend a hand to the sister who had once hurt me deeply. Let's start over, I said, my voice steady. We can figure this out together. As Vanessa nodded, a tentative smile breaking through her tears, I felt a sense of hope blossom within me. Perhaps this was the beginning of a new chapter for both of us, one where we could learn to forgive, to heal, and to reclaim the bond that had once defined us. As Vanessa and I stood in the dim light of the funeral home, the air thick with unspoken words, I felt a shift within me. The anger that had fueled our confrontation began to morph into something more complex, an understanding that perhaps we were both victims of our circumstances. But I knew that understanding alone wouldn't heal the wounds between us. It was time to confront the past head-on. Vanessa, I began, my voice steady but laced with emotion, we can't just gloss over what happened. You can't expect me to forget that you chose to betray me with Darren. You took everything from me. The words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of our shared history. I could see the pain flicker across her face, and I pressed on. You were my sister. I thought we were supposed to have each other's backs. I know, she replied, her voice trembling. I was selfish. I thought I was in love, and I didn't think about how it would affect you. I was so caught up in my own desires that I didn't see the damage I was causing. Her admission was raw, and I could see the guilt etched on her features. Selfishness doesn't even begin to cover it. I shot back, my heart racing. You didn't just hurt me, you shattered my trust in you. I lost my fiancé, my future, and for what? A fleeting moment of passion. The bitterness in my voice surprised me, but I couldn't hold back. The pain of betrayal was still fresh, and I needed her to understand the depth of my hurt. I never meant for it to go that far, she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. I thought I could handle it. I thought I could keep it a secret, that it wouldn't hurt you. But it did, and I see that now. Her vulnerability was disarming, and I felt a flicker of compassion amidst my anger. Do you even realize how long it took me to rebuild my life after you and Darren? I continued, my voice rising. I spent years in therapy, trying to understand why I wasn't enough. I lost myself in the process, and it took me so long to find my way back. The memories flooded back, nights spent crying, days filled with emptiness, and the relentless struggle to reclaim my identity. I'm sorry, Laura, she whispered, her voice breaking. I truly am. I thought I could have it all, but I was wrong. I see that now, and I hate myself for it. Her words struck a chord within me. I had spent so long harboring resentment, but in this moment, I realized that holding on to that anger was only hurting me further. You need to understand that your choices have consequences, I said, my tone softening. But I also need to let go of the past. I can't keep carrying this weight. Vanessa looked up, her eyes wide with surprise. You mean that? You want to let go? I do, I replied, feeling a sense of liberation wash over me. But it starts with honesty. We need to confront the truth of what happened, not just between us, but within ourselves. As I spoke, I could see the realization dawning on her. I've been living in denial, she admitted. I thought if I pretended everything was fine, it would be. But it's not. I'm drowning, and I don't know how to fix it. Maybe we can help each other, I suggested, my heart racing at the thought. We both have our battles to fight, but we don't have to do it alone. We can learn from this, grow from it. Her expression shifted, a flicker of hope igniting in her eyes. You really think we can? I do, I said firmly. But it starts with being honest with ourselves and each other. We need to confront our mistakes, not just sweep them under the rug. As we stood there, the tension between us began to dissipate, replaced by a fragile understanding. I could feel the weight of our shared history lifting, and for the first time, I saw a glimmer of the sister I had once loved. Let's start over, I said, my voice steady. We can figure this out together. It won't be easy, but I believe we can rebuild what we lost. Vanessa nodded, her tears still flowing, but now they were tears of relief. I want that too, Laura. I want to make things right. In that moment, I realized that this confrontation was not just about the past. It was a chance for both of us to redefine our futures. I had fought hard to reclaim my narrative, and now I was ready to extend a hand to the sister who had once hurt me deeply. As we embraced, I felt a sense of hope blossom within me. Perhaps this was the beginning of a new chapter for both of us, one where we could learn to forgive, to heal, and to reclaim the bond that had once defined us. As we stood there, wrapped in an embrace that felt both foreign and familiar, I could sense a shift in the atmosphere. The tension that had once defined our relationship began to dissolve, replaced by a fragile hope. I pulled back slightly, looking into Vanessa's tear-streaked face, and for the first time in years, I saw my sister. Not the rival who had betrayed me, but the girl I had grown up with, the one who had shared my dreams and fears. Let's sit down, I suggested, gesturing toward a quiet corner of the funeral home. The soft murmur of mourners faded into the background as we found a secluded spot away from prying eyes. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on us, and I knew we had a lot to unpack. I've missed you, you know, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Even after everything, I've missed having you in my life. The admission felt like a release, a step toward healing that I had longed for but never dared to voice. Vanessa looked down, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her dress. I've missed you too, Laura. I've just been so caught up in my own mess that I didn't know how to reach out. I thought you'd hate me forever. I won't lie, it hurt. It hurt more than I can express, I replied, my heart aching at the memories of betrayal. But holding on to that pain has only kept us apart. I want to move forward, but we need to be honest about what happened. She nodded, her expression serious. I know I can't change the past, but I want to make amends. I want to be the sister you deserve. Then let's start by being real with each other, I said, feeling a sense of determination. We both have scars from this. I want to understand your side, and I want you to understand mine. Vanessa took a deep breath, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. After I married Darren, I thought I had everything I wanted. But it quickly became clear that I was living a lie. He's not the man I thought he was. He's controlling, and I feel trapped. I thought I could handle it, but now I'm drowning in debt and regret. Her words struck a chord within me. I had spent so long focusing on my own pain that I hadn't considered the toll her choices had taken on her. I'm sorry you're going through that, I said softly. You deserve to be happy, Vanessa. We both do. I thought I could find happiness in the life I built, she continued, her voice trembling. But it's all crumbling around me. I don't know how to fix it. Maybe we can help each other, I suggested, feeling a flicker of hope. We both have our battles to fight, but we don't have to do it alone. We can learn from this, grow from it. Vanessa looked up, her eyes wide with surprise. You really think we can? I do, I replied, my heart racing at the thought. But it starts with being honest with ourselves and each other. We need to confront our mistakes, not just sweep them under the rug. As we spoke, I could feel the walls between us beginning to crumble. We were no longer just sisters defined by betrayal. We were two women seeking understanding and healing. I want to be there for you, Laura, Vanessa said, her voice steadying. I want to support you in your journey, just as you're willing to support me. Then let's make a pact, I proposed, feeling a surge of determination. Let's promise to be honest with each other, to communicate openly, and to support one another as we navigate our lives. We can't change the past, but we can shape our future. Vanessa nodded, a small smile breaking through her tears. I promise. I want to be the sister you deserve. As we sealed our pact with a hug, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. The burden of resentment that had weighed me down for so long began to lift, replaced by a sense of hope and possibility. In that moment, I realized that this was not just about forgiveness. It was about rebuilding a bond that had been fractured but not broken. We had both faced our demons, and now we were ready to face the future together. As we sat together, sharing stories and laughter, I felt a warmth spreading through me. Perhaps this was the beginning of a new chapter for both of us, one where we could learn to forgive, to heal, and to reclaim the bond that had once defined us. The funeral, once a place of sorrow, had transformed into a space of renewal. I knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but with Vanessa by my side, I felt ready to embrace whatever came next. As the funeral came to a close, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. The weight of the past had begun to lift, replaced by a newfound clarity. I glanced at Vanessa, who was now engaged in quiet conversation with some of the mourners, her demeanor transformed. It was as if the burden of our shared history had lightened, allowing us both to breathe a little easier. I stepped outside into the crisp air, the sun breaking through the clouds, casting a warm glow over the cemetery. It felt like a metaphor for my life. After the storm, there was light. I took a deep breath, savoring the fresh air, and felt a sense of hope blooming within me. I had faced my past, confronted the pain, and emerged stronger. Marcus joined me, wrapping his arm around my shoulders. You handled that beautifully, he said, his voice filled with warmth. I'm proud of you. Thank you, I replied, leaning into him. It wasn't easy, but I finally feel like I'm ready to let go of the anger. I want to move forward, not just for me, but for Vanessa too. He nodded, his expression serious. That's a big step, Laura. It takes a lot of strength to forgive, especially when the wounds run deep. I know, I said, looking out at the horizon. But I've realized that holding on to that anger only keeps me tied to the past. I want to embrace my future, and that means letting go of what no longer serves me. As we walked hand in hand, I reflected on the journey that had brought me to this moment. The pain of betrayal had been a catalyst for growth, pushing me to discover my own strength and resilience. I had learned to love again, to trust again, and to find joy in the little things. Do you remember when we first met? Marcus asked, breaking my reverie. You were so full of life, so passionate about your dreams. I knew right then that you were someone special. I smiled, the memory flooding back. I was a different person then, but I'm starting to feel like that version of myself again. I fought hard to reclaim my identity, and I won't let anyone take that away from me again. As we reached the car, I turned to Marcus, my heart swelling with gratitude. Thank you for being my rock through all of this. You've shown me what real love looks like. I'll always be here for you, Laura, he said, his eyes filled with sincerity. You deserve all the happiness in the world. With a renewed sense of purpose, I climbed into the car, ready to embrace the next chapter of my life. I knew that the road ahead wouldn't be without its challenges, but I felt equipped to face them. I had learned to forgive, to heal, and to love deeply. As we drove away from the cemetery, I glanced back one last time, feeling a sense of closure. I was ready to move forward, to build a life filled with love, laughter, and new beginnings. The past would always be a part of me, but it no longer defined me. I was Laura Mitchell, a woman reborn, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next.